Hi class, Mrs. Calvi here, going over using similar figures. And one thing you need to write into your notes section of your binder is what an indirect measurement is. Here it's saying an indirect measurement is a method of using proportions to find an unknown length or distance in similar figures. So they're already telling us that these two figures are similar. So we don't need to figure out if they're similar. We need to find their unknown measurements. And if you notice, they have an unknown side, KL. They're using the variable x, so we need to figure out what that length is. And we also need to find out what the measurement of angle K is. Well, knowing that these are similar figures, we know that corresponding angles have to have the same measurement. So the first thing we can do is we can figure out y pretty easily. So we need to know which angle corresponds to angle K in the smaller figure. Now, if you notice, these are not positioned the same way. They are flipped. So technically, you would have to flip one for them to be going in the same direction or to be positioned in the same way. But it's pretty simple to figure out that K corresponds to B. And B measures 103 degrees, so that's telling us that angle K has to measure 103 degrees, right? So Y, in this case, is equal to 103 degrees because they're asking us to find Y, all right? Now we're going to go and find X. I do the easy one first. So figure out the angle measurement first and then find the side length. So now all we're going to do is we're going to set up a proportion and we're going to have X as an unknown and we're going to solve the proportion using cross multiplication to solve for our unknown measurement. All right. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look to see which sides correspond to which from the smaller figure to the larger figure. Now remember, these are not positioned the same way, so you have to make sure you are taking the corresponding side. So if I'm looking at side AB, AB actually corresponds to JK, all right? And earlier when I was teaching you about corresponding sides, we were writing everything out. So we were saying AB corresponds to JK, and then we would have to go in and then say, okay, well, AB's measurement is 8 centimeters, and JK's is 28 centimeters, and then we would go ahead and set up the ratio, right? You're going to start getting used to, you don't have to write all of this out. So you're not going to have to do this and then do this. Many of you are going to know, okay, well, AB corresponds to JK. That means the ratio is going to be 8/28, okay? Now, if you still need to go through this and write this out, that's fine. But if you can just look at these two and know what the ratio is, you can go right to the ratio. You don't need to write all of this out, all right? So I'm just going to erase because I'm going to kind of now start using the shortcut. We're going right to the ratio. All right. So I know we already said that AB corresponds to JK because this figure is flipped. So AB is 8 and JK is 28. So 8 centimeters over 28 centimeters. All right. I know that BC corresponds to KL. So BC is 12 centimeters, and KL, that's our unknown. That's where our X is going to be, all right? In this case, we don't have to worry about the third side and their corresponding sides because all we're doing is looking to see, we already know that these two are similar. We know they're proportional. We just need to find our missing value, which in this case is X. Now, you guys know how to do this. You know how to solve for the missing variable or the unknown. We are just going to go ahead and cross multiply. So we're going to do 8 times X, which is 8X. We are going to do 28 times 12, and 28 times 12 is going to give us 336, And now you know how to solve for your variable. We're going to divide both sides by 8. And if you were to take 336 and divide it by 8, you would get x equals 42. We're talking centimeters. Okay? So remember, I did not have to find the ratios of all 3 sides because I'm not looking to see if they're proportional. I already know they're proportional because they're telling us that these are similar figures. I only needed to have 2 ratios in order to find my unknown. All right? Now let's look at a different example. Okay, so here it says a volleyball court is a rectangle that is similar in shape to an Olympic-sized pool. Find the width of the pool. So again, we already know that these are similar. We're not looking to see if they're proportional. We already know they're proportional. We're just looking for the unknown side. So the volleyball court is 18 meters long. And the pool is 50 meters long. So I can go right into writing a ratio. So I can say 18 over 50. And here, the width is going to be 9 meters for the volleyball court. And we do not know. We have a question mark. I'm going to put W because we're looking for width. Okay, that's our unknown. Now all we're doing is we are cross multiplying to figure out the width of the swimming pool. So 18 times W gives me 18W. 50 times 9 is going to give me 450. I'm now solving for my unknown, so I'm going to divide both sides by 18. My W is going to end up equaling 25, and here we're talking meters wide. All right, so pretty simple. So we're just looking for the unknown. So remember, we are talking about indirect measurement. So we're using proportions to find an indirect measurement of an unknown length or width or any type of measurement. All right, let's try one more example. Okay, here it says, estimate the height of the totem pole shown at the right. All right. So basically, they're using the shadow of the girl standing and the shadow of the totem pole to help them out here. So we're going to do exactly what we did with the previous two. I'm going to, and you notice it's all worked out here to the left. And if you notice, they put the squiggly line, this means approximate. Because we are using an indirect measurement, we cannot say it's an actual measurement, it's an approximate, all right? So we are basically estimating using an indirect measurement. So I'm going to start with the two measurements that we have the same for the corresponding sides in both the girl's shadow and the totem pole shadow. They started with the height, but I always like starting with the numbers that I know I have the same for each figure. So if the girl's shadow is 3.75 or 3 75 feet, that corresponds to the shadow of the totem pole, which is 15.5 feet. Okay, so I started with the girl, so I'm staying with the girl here. So that's going to be my numerator. So remember what we're talking about here when we set up proportions. My numerators are referring to the girl's height and shadow. The denominators is going to be talking about the totem pole. So now I have her as 5 feet tall, but we do not know the height of the totem pole. That's our unknown, so we're going to keep that as h. And if you notice, when they worked it out here, they did h divided by 5 is equal to 15.5 over 3.75. Doesn't matter. If you notice, their numerators, h and 15.5, are denominators. h, 15.5. They're still, even though they have it as their numerator, I have it as my denominator, it's not going to matter once we cross multiply. If you notice, if you cross multiply here, we're still doing 3.75 times h. I'm still going to do 3.75 times h, okay? So just make sure that you're sticking, your numerators are talking about the same thing, denominators talking about the same thing. So here we would get 3.75 or 3 75 each is equal to, we would have to do 15.5 times 5. We have that calculation here, and we would Okay, I just realized they said to estimate. So they actually estimated the 3.75 to be 4. So let's do what they're doing. So for each, they would get 4 each. And they estimated the 15.5 to be 16. And they estimated the 5 to be 4. And they're basically doing that just to, oh no, they kept the 5. I'm sorry. So 16 times 5 is what they're doing. 16 times 5. Okay. 16 times 5 gives me 80. Sorry. And then if I were to go ahead and actually divide, H is going to give me 20, and here we're talking about feet. So I did it a little bit differently than what they did it. They actually simplified right away, or estimated right away rather. They made the 15 a 16, they made the 3.75 a 4 here. I just did it a little differently, still come out to the same answer. And again, this is approximate. I should have done approximate because they're telling us to estimate. They're not actually giving us, they're not giving us an actual answer. So you would not put the equal sign. So H is approximately, the height of the totem pole is approximately 20 feet tall. Okay. Now we could have used the actual numbers that they gave us, but being that they told us to estimate, that's why they basically rounded here. Okay, so you have to remember we are using an indirect measurement in order to find an unknown in a figure. All right, that is all for today, and I will talk to you guys soon.